Hello, fellow sinners. Today I'm going to be talking about who is better between Princess Peach and Princess Zelda. And while they both have their strengths and weaknesses, Zelda is the better one. But you guys aren't just going to take my word for it, so I'm going to have to explain to you why I think Zelda is the better one. And of course, this is not objective truth. This is going to have some of my personal biases, and which you can obviously tell where that probably lands. And if you guys think that because I'm going to choose 3 categories, and if you think that one of my categories should not have been there, or else I got the wrong one in the category, go ahead and leave a comment. Or maybe I should have added some categories, because maybe there is more to them that I'm not really seeing, or else I'm not really portraying in this video. So, without further ado, let's go on to the 3 categories. So, the 3 categories will be usefulness, visual character design, and how they are as a princess. Each of those being very important. Usefulness in the game, because if they're not part of their game, why would we care about them? Visual design, how well the creators of the character portrayed them and showed who they are through how they dress or just outside forces, so it's not just a surprise on how they are. Next is how good they are a princess, because they are princesses in their own kingdoms. They do have a duty to their people, and how they fulfill that is going to be very important to how good of a princess they are. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. First category is their usefulness to the story of their games. Let's start with Peach. Peach is pretty simple with her story to the games. She's mostly the damsel in distress that gets kidnapped by Bowser, and then Mario goes and saves her, and that's it. That's kind of her relevance to the games. Well, of course, there are exceptions to this. Like there is Mario 3D World, where you can play as her. Mario RPG, where she also helps you in the party, and once you save her, then she will help fight with you. And there's probably other exceptions, but these are the biggest ones that I saw. But sadly, these are the exceptions, not the norm. Peach is always seen as the damsel in distress. She's known as the damsel in distress, which isn't a bad character, just makes so that she's kind of useless within a lot of the story methods. Like if you were to take her out and kind of just place her with Daisy, or else place her with a non-named princess character, then there wouldn't be too much of a difference for most of these games. It would just be Mario running off to save the girl, kind of that normal trope. She kind of shows herself as kind of useless. So in this area, I think that Zelda is the one that takes the cake, because with Zelda, she is useful to the games. You can look at Ocarina of Time, where she becomes Sheik, and she helps Link throughout the way. You can look at Twilight Princess, where she risks her life to save Midna, so that because she knows that Midna is her only hope to save the kingdom. You can look at Breath of the Wild, where she's stopping Bowser. You can look at Breath of the Wild, where she's stopping Ganon for 1,000 years with her power, so that Link could have time to recover. There's so many instances in the Zelda franchise where you can look at her being useful help. She is even your companion in Spirit Tracks. She's there the entire time. There's her adventures as Tetra. It's more of a norm for her to be important part of the story. There are times when she is just kind of like the damsel in distress, like in Minish Cap when she's turned to stone at the start, and then it's not until the end that she even gets out of stone, and by then it's too late for her to be part of the story. It is a kind of an exception for when she's not a big part of the story. So that's why I think that she is much better and much useful in the actual games, because she's actually there and helping throughout it. So that's why Zelda will get the first point. On to the next point is the visual character design. Now, this is one that Peach actually excels really well in. I actually think the creators of Peach did a marvelous job with her. her main dress is kind of her pink dress, which kind of shows her damsel in distress. So you kind of know what you're getting into when you see her, which is perfect because that's kind of what the design of a character should be. You should be able to guess a little bit about it through their design. As well as she has multiple, she's not just stuck to her one damsel in distress dress. She also has like all of her golfing one. She also has all of her sports one, and she just has so many that portrays kind of who she is. And like even in Mario Odyssey, she's gained a whole lot. And it's not just a one dress fits all for her situation. She really is portrayed as different throughout each one. While Zelda, on the other hand, looks stunning, looks beautiful, but she is always wearing kind of a different version of the same dress. Like, it is nice, but it kind of doesn't show. It shows that she's a princess. It shows that she is part of the royal family. She comes from wealth. Of course, you're going to know that. There's not really much more depth to it. And while she is even in other games, when it shows her doing other stuff like racing, it still shows her in a dress. While she's out in the field helping, it still shows her in the dress. Like, the only difference with her visual appearance is when she will become like Sheik or something. And with Sheik, then I don't think that's enough, because that is like one other instance. And it's kind of, this is once again a thing where it's kind of an exception for her to have something different. And even that is kind of something plain. I know she was trying to hide her identity with Sheik, which is, I think the design was really nice, but it doesn't really bring out Zelda herself. And so Peach will have to win at this point. As the last category and the deciding factor will be how they are as princesses. Princess Peach being a ruler over the Mushroom Kingdom, and Princess Zelda residing over the Hyrule Kingdom. So before I can talk about how well they do in their respective kingdoms, first I gotta explain a little bit about each kingdom. Princess Peach's kingdom, the Mushroom Kingdom, is mostly run by toads, while every once in a while we'll have different inhabitants to it. For the most part, it is mostly a peaceful nation, so that means there is something good going on in the ruling class, because they are mostly happy. It has like a lot of green land, it has a lot of nice stuff, and in most of the Mario games, it is shown to be mostly peaceful until Bowser comes in to kind of mess it up. The Kingdom of Hyrule, on the other hand, has shown to have real problems, which is not necessarily showing that Princess Zelda is doing bad, but it is showing that some of her predecessors do need help. And there are issues, like any place, about the kingdom. And we can see this in the Shadow Temple in Ocarina of Time, where it has a lot of dark secrets, has a lot of messed up areas. We can see this with the race of the Gerudo race, how they are kind of banned to the desert. They're kind of on their own. They're kind of looked down upon by the Hylian people, and like even in Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker, then that Ganon also says, you guys kind of left us in the desert while you guys got your lush lands, and is kind of mad about that. So of course there are some problems within the Hylian kingdom that does need to be addressed. With that, how does each of these two rulers kind of address and make sure that their kingdom is doing well? Peach doesn't. Like I said, she is the damsel in distress, but even when she's not kidnapped, which I can't fault her for being kidnapped, you can't really do anything when you're kidnapped, so, But when she's not kidnapped, she's kind of just running off, or she's kind of not really helping her people. Like, she's not really there for her people. We can see this in the newest game with Mario Odyssey, where right when she gets saved from Bowser, she runs off to go and vacation in all of the different areas, and there's obviously some problems that happen. Like, Bowser when he came, he took stuff and he destroyed stuff. Mario may have brought them back, but there's still going to be some unrest among your people when something like that happened. And I know she did just barely get kidnapped, but she does have a duty to her people to kind of help with that. And so she doesn't really seem much like a ruler for me. It seems like she has her counselors. Like, we know there is the Counselor Toad, and that person is the main one that is kind of like keeping the kingdom in order. And it's not really Peach. Peach kind of seems like she's there kind of as a symbol, kind of like how the modern England royal family is. They're shown as a symbol, but they don't really have any power. And I think Peach does have power, but she kind of just chooses not to use it unless she wants something from it. And Zelda, on the other hand, she can be seen actually doing something about the evil things that are happening in her land, like in her kingdom. Like, we can see, so some of the problems I mentioned before was like all of the things in the Shadow Temple. Well, she can't really fix some of the past. She has shown that she is trying to help solve it in the future. Like, she is helping some of the other races to kind of be more with the Hylian group, because they are the ruler of the entire land. Like, also with the Gerudo people, they were shown to be kind of looked down upon and disowned, and kind of like they're in the desert, kind of far away. But she's shown to have a relationship with them in Breath of the Wild, which is the latest timeline, and there's a much better contrast between the Breath of the Wild Gerudo and the Ocarina of Time Gerudo. And you can also see in other games where that contrast is starting to become, where that is coming from. It is slow, but it is happening, and it does seem like Zelda is a part of this. Even Zelda's mother, so the female group in the Hylian family, does seem to be very much pushing for the Gerudo side to be a part of their kingdom, and to say, hey, we do know you're there, we are supporting you. And while the Gerudo may have made all that stuff mostly by themselves, they do know that they have the Hylian kingdom that is their ruler to kind of help them in areas if they need it, as well as the Rito, all the areas. Then it does show that Zelda is pretty helpful. And yeah, as we said before, Zelda also kind of helps with like defeating Ganon, but that was kind of talked about in an earlier topic, so I do not think that this can count for this side. So with that, Zelda still wins, because Peach, as I said, she doesn't seem to be the one that cares about it. She may have the power, but she doesn't seem to do much. She kind of just set as a symbol for them, while Zelda is actively helping and is actively trying to care for her people. Like, you can see the distraught that she has, and how she will even abandon her own happiness for her people, with like the once again, Breath of the Wild being the newest game. Of course, is going to have the most plot in it, but she is throwing her happiness away so that she can learn to have the power, so that she can stop Ganon, and so that her people can be safe. So with that, then Zelda wins. She wins the most. I know it's only 3 points, but she does win. And yeah, so while Peach does have better fashion, she does express herself better visually, so we know what we're getting more, and she is more diverse with that. And what she does, Zelda is better at ruling, and is just more useful in game. She's harder to replace than Peach. Like, Peach, the image is very hard to replace, but Zelda, the person, is impossible to replace in the actual games. And with that, I would like to thank you guys all for watching. If you guys are this far, maybe you guys will like my content. You can subscribe. I sometimes am playing games on Twitch. You can go there, watch my other video, anything you want. And that's it. Stay amazing, sinners. Amen. So I'm actually recording this after the rest of the video. So I actually did go and see what Peach has in the movie, and I do know that she has a bigger role, and so I do feel like that this does kind of make so that my points aren't as big of a slam dunk for Zelda as they were before the movie. But I did say I wasn't going to have the movies in, and once again, I did do this before, and I actually do like it that they are making her as more of a character rather than a damsel in distress, and I think they should keep going with that. So, but Zelda still wins because